Whether it's Schumacher and Herbert, Hamilton and Kovalainen, or Senna and Berger, all-time great drivers often make great teammates look almost average compared to them and arguably damage and sometimes destroy their careers. That's the harsh reality of going up against a driver of that caliber, but I want to take a look more closer into the history of Fernando Alonso, who's had more than his fair share of teammates, and also ask the question, do drivers actually end up worse in their F1 careers after going up against a driver as good as Alonso? By definition, I wouldn't say that Fernando Alonso in any way destroyed Yano Truly's career. These are their head-to-head stats in their 2 seasons together, and I'll show you these stats for each of the drivers as we go through them in terms of the points that they scored in each season, and then what percentage of the points the drivers scored in total. Yano Truly is an interesting case because although he was at Renault before a young Alonso got there in 2003 and then did subsequently get beaten by Alonso in their first season as teammates, the two were actually pretty close. Fernando, however, in the Flavio Briatore-led Renault, exactly the same way as Schumacher before him, who also very similarly ended a few teammates' careers, built the team around him with his immense talent and potential. This led to a strange decision in 2004 when Renault were not as competitive as the season before to fire Yano Truly with 3 races to go. Both Truly and Renault were unhappy with each other, with Truly saying that they gave him inferior equipment and the team saying that he gave up on certain races after they chose not to re-sign him for the next season. Now again, this had nothing technically to do with Alonso. If anything, 2004 is arguably his weakest year in F1 because although he did get more podiums than Truly in 2004, when Truly was dropped, Alonso was actually 1 point behind him in the championship. Now, Truly went on to race for Toyota and managed a further 7 podiums in his F1 career after being dropped by Renault, so by no means did he forget how to drive, but he never got the chance again to race for a real top team that can fight for race wins, and it's interesting to think about where his career would have gone had he managed to be at Renault for their 2005 title-challenging season. I don't think Nelson Piquet Jr. looks back on his time at Renault and Formula 1 against Fernando Alonso as a massive high point. It was a time of controversy, bad results, and yet again our old friend Flavio Briatore. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Piquet Jr. was some kind of lost talent who could have become a Formula 1 world champion. But having said that, he was a decent enough driver. In his second season in GP2, which of course is the equivalent of Formula 2, he finished second in the championship, only behind some guy called Lewis Hamilton, and he did manage to score a podium in his Formula 1 rookie season. However, Fernando really did do a number on Piquet in their 2 years as teammates. In terms of pace, Piquet was never on Alonso's level, and apart from the massive points deficit, Fernando even whitewashed Piquet in qualifying in 2008. Now, we can't ignore the fact that the reason that Piquet was dropped by Renault midway through 2009 in the first place is because of the Crashgate scandal from the previous season. But the reason why he's on this list is because although he was a decent enough driver with a famous name and someone who could have done an okay job for a different team in the midfield away from the whole Renault environment, that whole situation and then subsequently getting absolutely demolished by Fernando Alonso basically made him radioactive, and in the end, no team ever showed any real interest in him after that. Felipe Massa remains Alonso's longest ever teammate, and although Felipe was a good driver during their time together, there was never any question over who was the better driver, who was the team leader, and who would always challenge for the title at the beginning of every season. Now, it's always difficult to talk about Massa during this time because although people might say that he was never the same driver after his accident in Hungary in 2009, he himself has said on the F1 Beyond the Grid podcast that in terms of speed, he was already up to speed when he tested with the team in Maranello at the end of 2009, and that he didn't lose anything when Fernando came into the team. And I tend to agree with that because as good as Felipe was in 07, 08 and 09, he was never on the same level as an Alonso, Vettel or Hamilton at their absolute best. Massa, again referencing to that podcast that I said earlier, when he was at Ferrari and teammates with Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso, they were both very strong and powerful personalities who the team gravitated towards, and unlike Kimi Raikkonen, who was crazy quick in the car, but never put the same work outside of it. When you look at Massa before and after his time with Alonso, let's not forget that not only did he almost win the title in 2008, but the race before his accident in 2009, Massa had more than double the points that Kimi had, with 22 and 10 respectively, and that is of course with the old point system. But when you look at him during his time with Fernando and then when he left for Williams in 2014, he was always a quality driver and he was always capable of doing a good job, but he was never again that really exceptional talent, even up against Valtteri Bottas. Now, it might seem strange to include Kimi Raikkonen on this list, but the biggest reason why I decided to include him is because although he only spent one season with Fernando, which was at Ferrari in 2014, the perception of Kimi Raikkonen at the end of 2013 when he left Lotus, compared to the beginning of 2015 when Fernando had already gone, was completely different. Now, obviously, Fernando did not actually destroy Kimi's career because he was already a world champion, and he even managed to win one last race at Austin in 2018. But for anyone that watched Kimi Raikkonen in his comeback for Lotus in 2012 and then 2013, he genuinely looked like in the right car he might be able to challenge for one last championship. I mean, in those 2 years with an upper midfield Lotus, which actually was a very good car and on occasion could genuinely challenge for race wins, Kimi scored 2 wins, 15 podiums, and even managed to finish 3rd in the championship in 2012. Even at the end of 2013 when he was announced to go to Ferrari, and by this point with 3 races left, he actually didn't race for Lotus because they weren't able to pay him. At the end of his final race of 2013, he was still 3rd in the championship. So, after 2 years out of F1, Kimi returns with a very good car and theoretically should have finished 3rd in the championship in both years. At the time, it really did look like Kimi was still a championship quality driver, and again, with the right car and the right team around him, maybe he could challenge for a title and maybe even beat Alonso. No, in the end, we all know what happened. Ferrari built an absolute boat as the F14T was only the 4th best car on the grid behind the Mercedes, Red Bull, and even the Williams. Yes, Williams was once a top 3 team. And after going up against Alonso, Kimi got battered in 2014, and with Vettel coming in 2015, there was absolutely no doubt in anyone's minds that Kimi was no longer a title contender, even in a good car, and would have to play a kind of number 2 role, which of course he did for Sebastian Vettel. Stoffel Vandoorne really did land at the right team, but at the worst possible time. He spent 2 full seasons with Fernando, and after getting dropped at the end of 2018, he never got back to Formula 1. The thing is, if you look at Stoffel Vandoorne before he made his full season debut in 2017, he looked like a potential future champion. He finished 1st in Formula 4, 1st in Formula Renault, and then when he went to GP2 in his debut season he finished 2nd, and then in the next season he won the GP2 championship with what I still think to this day stands as the largest ever points gap in F2 or GP2 history between 1st and 2nd place. And the success did not stop there. When Alonso in Australia in 2016 had a massive crash with Esteban Gutierrez and was forced to miss the next race in Bahrain, Vandoorne was actually called up for a surprise one-time appearance to make his F1 debut. And on his debut, he managed to finish in 10th place and scored a point in the 2016 McLaren Honda, which was an incredible debut achievement. Sadly though, that's probably as good as it got, because the curse of being Alonso's teammate striked again. Now, what's important to know is that although McLaren made good progress with their 2016 car, in 2017, the team, along with Honda and their brand new power unit, absolutely nosedived as they finished second to last in the Constructors' Championship. I'm not sure if I agree with those people that say that Stoffel Vandoorne was never good enough for Formula 1, but I've always thought that the biggest thing that hurt him was starting his career with the pressure of being a McLaren driver, but then never being given a car even close to being a consistent point scorer. There is a very big difference between Lando making his debut in a car which he could use to show his confidence and talent when the team finished 4th in 2019, and then the car Stoffel was given, which finished 9th in the Constructors. Of course, being Alonso's teammate never helped, and whilst Fernando was doing miracles as he always did in those McLarens, it didn't exactly help that Stoffel wasn't even close to Fernando on a Saturday and even got swept in 2018, and then wasn't able to pull out those great results on a Sunday. So there you have it. I hope you did enjoy this video. Now, of course, let me know all of your thoughts in the comments box below in terms of Alonso's career and his teammates as well. And if you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to drop a like and smash that subscribe button to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.